Shania bands, rose water, red carpet. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janna Ballabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachariya. Jamuna Tira Vanachariya. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Puri Vrajaka Jaja Shodhara Srimad Divine Grace Mai Charana Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Puri Vrajaka Jaja Shodhara Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nandakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Jaya, BBT founder Jaya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Sam Veda Bhakti Ki Jai, Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, assembled devotees, all glories, assembled devotees, all glories, Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Where's Shveta Ashan Das? Okay. So this morning we read from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 9th chapter, the appearance of the demon Vritrasura. And looks like we're on text 33. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Ateva Swayam Tad Upakalpayasmakam Bhagavata Param Gurostava Charana Shattapala Chayam Vivida Vrinjina Samsara Parisamo Pasha Manim Upasritanam Vayam Yat Kameno Pasaditaha. Anyone else like to chant? Only kidding. Okay. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Dear Lord, you are omniscient, and therefore you know very well why we have taken shelter at your lotus feet, which provides shade that gives relief from all material disturbances. Since you are the supreme spiritual master and you know everything, we have sought shelter of your lotus feet for instruction. Please give us relief by counteracting our present distress. Your lotus feet are the only shelter for a fully surrendered devotee and are the only means for subduing all the tribulations of this material world. Purport. One need only seek shelter of the shade of the Lord's lotus feet. Then all the material tribulations that disturb him will be subdued, just as when one comes under the shadow of a big tree, the disturbances caused by the heat of the scorching sun are immediately mitigated without one's asking for relief. Therefore, the whole concern of the conditioned soul should be the lotus feet of the Lord. The conditioned soul suffering from various tribulations because of existing in this material world can be relieved only when he seeks shelter at the Lord's lotus feet. Could you open that door a little bit, please? Om Agyan Timarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshul Unminitam Ninataismai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svabadandikam Manchikopatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patidanam Bhavanibo Vaishnavi Bhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So by your good wishes and hopes, I'll try to say a few things. So we're talking about Krishna's lotus feet here. Why are Krishna's feet known as lotus feet? Call them daisy feet or rose feet or plumera feet, but why is it lotus feet, you know?
They don't touch the material world.
Yes, that's one reason. Just like the lotus flower, it grows in the water, but it doesn't touch the water. And very, very beautiful also. Very, very beautiful. That's the main reason. The lotus feet of Krishna, or the lotus feet of the spiritual master, that terminology is used because they don't touch this material world. They're in this world, but really untouched by it. So, a few things here. It's interesting, you read this verse, and you could just switch it out for the spiritual master. Right? Just like in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he's giving so many arguments why he shouldn't fight. And then he realizes that all my arguments, they're useless. They're useless. And then he takes shelter of Krishna, right? What is that verse? How does that begin? Karpanya doshato svabhava prachami tvam dharma samudha. What's the last part? Shisha steham sarimam tvam prapanam. That now I'm your disciple and the soul surrendered to you. Please instruct me. Please help me, because Prabhupada makes the point. Arjuna understood that whatever ideas he has for relieving the distressful situation he was in, they're all useless. So I'm reading this book Maharaj just gave me, Trivikram Maharaj. Did he give anyone else a little biography Trivikram Maharaj wrote his time with Prabhupada? And he was a social worker of some sort. And he was sitting with Prabhupada, and he asked Prabhupada, or Prabhupada asked him, all this, what do you do? What is all this social work? And he's saying about having the people of the world, get together, work like the Peace Corps or the United Nations, come together, common ground, try to find the solutions for war and, exploitation of the races and this and that, all the different things. And Prabhupada said, don't you think it's a waste of time? In other words, they'll never find it. They'll never find the solution. And he said, "You're right. They won't." How long have they been trying? People have been trying to get along and work together and solve the problems of this material world. But has anyone been successful? I'll probably give the example of the United Nations that every year they put up more and more flags. So more and more flags means more and more disunity. The number of flags should be going down, right? They just get along so well, but we see all the time they just more and more flags. So there is no real material solution for the tribulations and disturbances. Prabhupada uses those words in this verse. And so many, just we have Bhagavad Gita, we're just describing about Arjuna's conversation with Krishna, and throughout the pages of the Bhagavatam, all of the scriptures, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all the Upanishads, so many conversations are there to drive the point home. Some of the most famous verses are by Prahlad Maharaj. His realization about the nature of this material world and how it's, at one place he compares it to a big grinding wheel for grains. You see those old grist, what a grist mill is? Grist mill? Those big stones, and it goes around another stone, and people put the grains in there and just grind. That's how used to stone ground or grist mill. Sometimes it'd be on the side of a stream or a river, and they use the water to power it. But it just grinds everything very, very fine. So he compared the material world to just grinding all the living entities up. All our hopes and aspirations and everything are just all ground up, whatever they may be. Does anyone want to suggest one desire in this material world you have that time will not grind into powder? I'll give you 30 seconds. Raise your hand. Beep. Okay, you had a chance. I'm sorry. I'll give Janardan needs 20 more seconds to come up with an answer because I'm sure he's got one. If anyone's got, you got one. Whatever emotion you have, affection you have for anything in this material world, do you think sooner or later it will all be for naught? Yes, because we, or whatever we have affection for, won't last forever, or it goes away. You've heard that definition of happiness in the material world, right? The three. What do you call it? The three, not conclusions, but where it all ends. Okay. So here's the happiness. Let me see if I can get this right, okay? So there's a kind of happiness that you really, really want. You really want something, okay? But you never get it. Never happened? You really want something, but you never get it, okay? And then there's a happiness you really, really want, and you get it, and it's everything you wanted. But in due course of time, it's taken away. Then there's the kind of happiness you really, really want, and you get it, and it turns out not to be that kind of happiness anyways, right? You think, if I had a relationship with this person, I'd be so happy, right? And the relationship's there, and it just turns sour, right? It's not what you want. So there's no other outcome of the search for happiness in this material world than these three things. Is there, Janardan? You think about it. You want something, think about something you want. Okay, you want it. You really want it. So that's a seagull confirming this verse. Only three things are going to happen. You're going to really, really want it, and somehow or other you don't get it. You just don't get it. You never get it. Or you're going to get it, and it's not going to make you happy. Or you're going to get it, it's going to make you so happy, but then it's going to be taken away from you. Okay? So that's pretty depressing, isn't it? If you want to be happy in the material world, that's pretty depressing. And sometimes they come back, well, they say the search for happiness is happiness. Right? Just looking for happiness is happiness. No, it's not. It's a struggle. Everyone's struggling very hard for happiness. So the point is, page after page after page, pastime after pastime, instruction after instruction is driving this point home because we don't really accept it. We don't accept it. That's called delusion, illusion and delusion. We just don't accept it because of our conditioning. We have our conditioning, and even though, just like sometimes you give someone good instruction and they don't accept it, what's that all about? It's conditioning, right? And you preach to someone and they go, well, you have your philosophy, you make perfect sense. And they say, well, you have your philosophy, I have my philosophy, right? This time is brought up when Prabhupada ever talks about these pastimes like the Digvijay and so on, big scholars. They would have these debates. Sometimes big crowds would come. Big scholars would come into town, and it was a big thing, just like they have, sports now. Sports arenas and this and that, and huge crowds of people would gather around. Previously in Vedic culture, sometimes it'd be traveling pandits, very, very learned. They would come together in the evening, and the whole town or village would be there, and they would be discussing maybe a particular view, particular philosophy, whether it's impersonalism or personalism or Vaishnava, Shaivite, or whatever. And if the person who you spoke with defeated you, you had to accept defeat and become their disciple, right? But now you defeat someone and they go, oh, that's your philosophy. I've got mine. So what is that? That means the person's not interested in understanding the truth. That's exactly what it means. That's not. Their whole cultivation of knowledge is just their false ego. It's not the search for the truth. It's just an inflated false ego that I'm more learned than you. And somehow or other, even though you defeated me, well, then that's just your philosophy. I've got mine, you got yours, and like that. So this lotus feet, I said earlier, just if you think about it, it's just like a prayer to the spiritual master, taking shelter of the lotus feet of the spiritual master. That gives relief from all material disturbances. The spiritual master is Oma Gyan Timarandasya, is knowing. He knows the absolute truth. Therefore, we seek instruction from the spiritual master. So, why is that? Krishna, what is that? Vishnupadaya. The spiritual master is Vishnupadaya. What does that mean, Vishnupadaya? Padaya means of the lotus feet, but the spiritual master is Vishnupadaya, at the lotus feet of Krishna. He's always at Krishna's lotus feet. So, sometimes it's understood that when we say take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, what does that actually mean? Everyone should run up on the altar and grab Giridhari's feet? Some do, right? The pujaris. It means the instructions of Krishna. Taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna means serving the lotus feet, and who's at the lotus feet? Who you'll find at the lotus feet of Krishna are all his pure devotees, the spiritual masters, the Vaishnavas. So serving the lotus feet isn't just something poetic, it means practical service to the Vaishnavas and the spiritual master. And then all these benedictions will come. All these benedictions will come. Just like we have the Shatari. You know what the Shatari is? You know what the Shatari is? It's that helmet there. It looks like a helmet. And on top is the shoes of Krishna. It's called the Shatari. It's named after a devotee of that name. And, you put it on your head. And it's the same as getting Krishna putting his feet on your head. So that's all very nice. And it's very, very blissful. And you make an advancement and purifying. But the real shelter under Krishna's lotus feet is taking shelter of his instructions. So that's a very point here. And I'm going to read some verses in a little while, but an interesting line here I see is that the demigods are saying, you're omniscient. You know everything, right? Krishna says, Vedaham atitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishani chabhutani mam tu vedana kashtana. He says, I know everything past, present, and future. I know all living entities. But me no one knows. But Krishna knows everything. He says, therefore you know very well why we have taken shelter of your lotus feet. So Krishna already knows Why are the demigods taking shelter of his lotus feet in this particular situation? There's someone causing some problems, right? Who is it, Janardhan? Indra? Perhaps? You're shooting in the dark, Prabhu. Vitrasura, the demon. Okay, remember? He came to attack Indra. So they got a big problem because he's already, you read a little bit further, he's already taken their weapons away and they're discouraged. I don't know what's going to happen. Imagine that you're fighting with someone and they take all your weapons away. Knock them out of your hand. So you're standing there, it's like, what's going to happen next? It's like, I have no weapons. So, you know why we're approaching you. We need some help. And this brought up again and again and again. Why are they praying? They're not praying for pure devotional service. They're praying, their idea of relief from all the miseries is, can you put everything back how it was? Put us in the position of enjoying the material world? That's what we're looking for. That's their definition. Everyone has a definition of relief or happiness. And they approach Krishna because he's the Kalpavriksha. He can give people happiness on all these different levels. That's Krishna. And he does that. That's his kindness. That's his mercy. But it's not all the same. You know that saying, Prabhupada, he would say, if Krishna likes you, he'll give you what you want. If Krishna loves you, what will he do? Take everything away. Is that a confirmation? A little ding there? Okay. So yeah, if Krishna likes you, he'll give you what you want. But if he loves you, he'll take everything away. And that's in reference to this material world. So Krishna's Eko Bahanam Yovadadati Kaman. He's taking care of everyone, fulfilling everyone's desires. So he knows what the demigods want, and he's going to solve that for them. Because he needs to. Because of the demigods. They're running this material world. And of course, this whole pastime, the real point of the whole pastime is to bring out how glorious this devotee, Vritrasura, is. He's disguised as a demon, but he's actually a wonderful devotee. And in this pastime, the super excellent position of pure devotional service compared to, what's it called? Mishra Bhakti, mixed devotional service. Dear Lord, dear Lord, dear Lord, give me, give me, give me, right? So that's not pure devotional service. It's devotion. You have that revelation and realization that I know everything's coming from Krishna, and all my sense gratification's coming from you, so can you help me out? I need some sense gratification. I need some, my position in this material world is something's going wrong. Can you help me? Can you help me? So that's the demigods. That's conditional devotional service, Mishra Bhakti. So Krishna will help. Because one reason is because it increases a person's faith. If you pray, and Krishna fulfills your desire, you start thinking, wow, he must be there. Krishna's there, he's helping me. That's why this demigod worship is there. Krishna has set up the whole system, and people who follow it, gradually their faith increases that there's someone in control. And then they find out there's someone above the devatas, and that's Vishnu or Krishna. So it's a gradual process of increasing a person's faith. Some wonderful verses here about taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet and how all the problems of this material world will come to an end. But we know, because we're studying it, the pages of the Bhagavatam, that the real shelter of Krishna's lotus feet is to be engaged in his devotional service, and then the tribulations of this material world will end for once and for all. Once and for all. It'll all be over, because we'll be gone. Just like there's a verse there. Trambakam yajamehe sugundi pushti baradanam urvarukam ibabandhanam vichumucham namamyaham. This is a prayer to Lord Nrsingadev and Lord Shiva, depending on who you're worshiping. It's called the Mrityunjaya mantra, and it's done for ceremonies for longevity or health. Trambakam yajamehe sugundi pushti bardhanam. My dear Lord, my dear three-eyed Lord, you're very, very beautiful, and your body has the fragrance of wonderful flower, very, very beautiful and fragrant form of yours. And can you, just as easily as someone picks a ripe cucumber from the vine. May you very easily just pick me up from this material existence, like that, and just end all of my problems. Now, for the devotee, what does that mean? Krishna, get me out of the material world. Yeah, bring me home, back to Godhead. Now, the materialist, he's trying to extend his length of his life, and he's got some illness or something, and he's praying. When he's offering those mantras and things into the fire, he's praying, oh, help me, I'm sick, I'm this, I'm that, help me, help me, help me. But what does the verse say? It's just as someone plucks a cucumber, you just easily relieve all of my problems. Like that. You become the end of all of my problems. Moksha. I become liberated from all distress. So the only way to get liberated from all distress is to get out of the material world. Why is that? Dukhalayam asashvatam. It's a place where there's always a temporary place of distress. So, the surfing example, the surfing example is Southern California. Sometimes you see surfers walking to the beach, right? They got a surfboard. Sometimes a surfboard, they're carrying it. Then they put it on their head. Then they put it in their other arm because it's a burden. So they have to switch where they're carrying it because they're just switching the burden. They're not ending the burden. They're just moving it. So the material world means we just move the burden around like that. But it's still a burden. So I'll end here because of the time. I picked out some verses about Krishna's lotus feet and taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet and how wonderful that is. And these are from the Mukundamala Stotra by Kulashekar Maharaj. So bear with me. Let's just read a few here. So this is text 11. Get about 3-4 verses here. The people in this vast ocean of birth and death are being blown about by the winds of material duality. Beautiful poetry. As they flounder in the perilous waters of sense indulgence, with no boat to help them, they are sorely distressed by the need to protect their sons, daughters, and wives. Only the boat that is Lord Vishnu can save them. Number 12. Dear mind, do not bewilder yourself by anxiously thinking, how can I cross this fathomless and impassable ocean of material existence? There is one who can save you, devotion. If you offer her to the lotus-eyed Lord, the killer of Narakasura, she will carry you across this ocean without fail. O Lord of the three worlds, we are drowning in the vast ocean of samsara, which is filled with the waters of material hankering, with many waves of illusion whipped up by the winds of lust, with whirlpools of wives and the vast schools of sharks and other sea monsters who are our sons and brothers. Do you ever think of your brothers like that? You have. Okay. O giver of all benedictions, please grant me a place on the boat of devotion that is your lotus feet. 14. Once our Savior has been seen. I like this verse very much. Who's our Savior? Krishna, right? So, once our Savior has been seen, the whole earth becomes no greater than a speck of dust. All the waters of the ocean become mere droplets. The totality of fire becomes a minute spark. The winds become just a faint sigh, and the expanse of space becomes a tiny hole. Great lords like Rudra and grandfather Brahma become insignificant, and all the demigods become like small insects. Indeed, even one particle of the dust from our Lord's feet conquers all. And I'm going to skip here. There's two more. This verse everyone knows, but it has to do with taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Text 33, the most popular verse from here. Prabhupada would sing this all the time. O Lord Krishna, at this moment let the royal swan of my mind enter the tangled stems of the lotus of your feet. How will it be possible for me to remember you at the time of death, when my throat will be choked up with mucus, bile, and air? Another lotus foot, and then one more near the end of this. 42. My mind cannot turn from Sri Krishna's lotus feet, even for a moment. So let my dear ones and other relatives criticize me. My superiors accept or reject me as they like. The common people spread evil gossip about me, and my family's reputation be sullied. For a madman like me, it is honor enough to feel this flood of love of Godhead, which brings such sweet emotions of attraction for my Lord. So these are prayers written by Maharaj Kulashekar, who was speaking in pure devotion and not wanting anything but pure service to the Lord, and that is true. That is true counteracting and relief from all the material disturbances. So, this it's called detachment. We have attachment to Krishna, and detachment from the material world. But Bhakti Saul, if you have a big pakora in your right hand with some coconut chutney on it, cauliflower pakora, okay, but then you see a gulab jamun you really, really want. What do you have to do first before you can get that gulab jamun? Eat the. Okay, I guess that may be a bad example. You got to put it down. Your hands got to be free, right? Eat the pakora. Okay, well said. And then you can get the gulab jamun. I guess that was a bad example. Bad example. Delicious, but still a bad example. The point is you got to put it down in order to get the other thing. So why is detachment stress? As long as we're attached to the material world, we're just not going to pick up, hold on to Krishna's lotus feet because we think there's something more valuable. That's the problem. There's something more valuable than Krishna. Krishna reveals himself to those who, it's a progression of that revelation of there's nothing of any value in this material world separate from Krishna. Everything in this material world is very, very valuable if you see it in its connection to Krishna. But if we don't see a connection to Krishna, then it's just a big impediment. It's like a wall. It's like a curtain. So Krishna is just not there because we're thinking there's something else. So when the day comes, we don't think there's anything else but the taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, just like Maharaj Kulashekar. To that extent, Krishna is not present, but he becomes 100% present for one who has no other desire like that. So it's 8:26. Are there any conversations on this verse? Or any questions about Krishna's lotus feet? Everyone feels satisfied? Yes.
You mentioned three types of happy.
Three attempts, yes.
Three attempts at, okay, thank you. And they all dissolve eventually, and money doesn't buy you love, and it doesn't buy you happiness either, I know that. So I have to chant and be happy, and it's continuous. It's, my mood changes. And so, attempting to be happy, that's just a gift, you said, just if you are happy?
Is it yes. That's proper understanding. Everything is a gift from Krishna. Very kindly, a gift. And especially Krishna consciousness is a gift from the Vaishnavas, from the Guru and the Vaishnavas. They give Krishna. They have Krishna and they give you Krishna. So one should always understand that it's a gift, and you can lose it because it's not mechanical. It's a gift. Like that, very good point. Now, couldn't someone apply those three kinds of happiness to Krishna consciousness? I really want to be happy chanting Hare Krishna, but I'm not happy chanting Hare Krishna. Right? I fall asleep when I'm chanting japa. I'm just not happy. There's no bliss. So it's like Sadhaputta Maleshi goes, I tried chanting this Hare Krishna stuff and nothing happened. So what's that all about? You tell me it's the Paramananda and all this and that, and I chant Hare Krishna and I don't feel Paramananda. If it's so good, why do people give it up and go do something else? Is that a valid question? What's your answer? You have the microphone.
The question was that, can you repeat it real quick? No, just like...
People, we're saying that chanting Hare Krishna is the supreme happiness and pleasure. So you say, I tried it, and I didn't feel any Paramananda. In fact, I'm just going to go have a good time because I don't really think it's that happy. It doesn't bring me much happiness. So what's going on there?
I heard Bhakti Tirtha Swami kind of say the same thing. He said that's how you know the process works, when you see somebody give it up, in a sense, because they tried it, they haven't experienced it, so they didn't try it to a full extent. It was something like that, but he said when you see somebody give it up, then for you that can be an affirmation for you that that's how the process works, because they didn't stick it out long enough. And then,
Okay. In other words, you have to do it properly and stick with it.
Yeah.
And then it comes. It's not cheap. Prabhupada would say that in different interviews. How come so few people are taking to this Hare Krishna? And Prabhupada would always say, just like if you're selling diamonds, you don't have a lot of customers because it's expensive. Why everything in Kali Yuga is cheap, right? Most things are made in China, right? Happiness in Kali Yuga is made in China. No, but it's so cheap. Everything is so cheap. If you don't have happiness like right now, But the most valuable, pleasurable things in life take some hard work and time, right? So, but that's our answer. Take it or leave it. But it's true, the very good point you made is that person who, they haven't completed it. Just like if you go to college to get a degree, what would you like a degree in? Mechanical engineering. Okay, so how many years does that take? 4 years? And you only go through like 4 months, and you quit, and you complain, I didn't get a degree. Who's going to listen to you? You didn't stick it out for 4 years. You would have gotten a degree. You could work with him, right? But you only went 4 months, 4 days, right? Because it takes time. It takes time. There's a lot going on here. It's a very, very valuable thing, extremely most valuable thing. So take some time. Something very, very, very valuable, like that. A question?
I had 2 questions. In the purport, it said that Krishna will dissolve the miseries of a devotee, or relieve them, or something like that.
Okay.
Is it that he takes away those miseries physically, or he just puts the devotee in a state of mind, even those miseries are still there, but he's not affected by it?
Okay.
And the other
Do you want
one.
to answer that, then answer the next one, or are they together?
No, the other one.
Okay. You know the verse in the Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter where Krishna says, what is that? Durga Tarishasi. Anyways, he says, those who take shelter of me, I help them cross over the miseries of material existence. Okay? So the point of that verse is that the miseries of material existence don't disappear, but the devotee crosses over them. Okay? Because the nature of this material world is a miserable place. If you have a material body, there's going to be problems. Just being here, it's a miserable place. So the idea that, Krishna is just going to remove all of my problems. I'm not going to grow old anymore. I'm going to look fantastic. I'll be able to eat cauliflower pakoras and coconut chutney till I'm 102. My digestion's going to work, and no one says a bad word to me, and I have plenty of money. Everyone loves me, right? No. Birth, death, disease, and old age will always be there, and all these problems. But Krishna says, what is that verse? Durgani, do you know the verse? Maprasada Trishasi, right? Maprasada, by my mercy, Trishasi, you'll cross over it all. He doesn't say disappears, but you cross over it. Just like a raging river and there's a bridge, you just cross over it. So that's what it means. The second question?
The second one was when you quoted the Mukuna, the other book, the Mukuna Stotram.
Mukulamala Stotram.
Yeah, that one. The last one, why is it that we're kind of you say, reluctant to chant, although we hear all these nice glorifications and stuff, and then why is it so relishable when it's kind of taken away from us in a sense, or we don't do it in a while? Because let's say we're in a situation where we can't chant in a sense, or maybe like at a like some, yeah. And so when we're in a situation like that, why is that more kind of like pleasurable than actually like, having all the opportunities?
Well, again, I made the point, it's conditioning. It's our conditioning. Sometimes, there's different ways to get people to do things or to appreciate things. And like they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes if something's taken away, then you finally appreciate it. You didn't, what is that? Familiarity breeds contempt. So there's different psychological things going on. Just like living in the temple, it's a very good example. Here every single day, if you get familiar, then you start taking things for granted. Prasadam and the chanting and the devotees and this and that. And familiarity can even lead to aparadhas. You have to be very careful. But, like you said, you go away. I always remember the good old days, being a traveling brahmachari in a van. And then you come back to the temple, it's like you really appreciate the nice prasadam and the devotees and the kirtans and the deities and so on. And then, so it's very helpful because we just don't have that level of realization 24/7. So these are different things that are very, very helpful. Does that answer your question? Anything else, or we should end here and see if they have pakoras and cauliflower pakoras and coconut chutney for breakfast or something, or gulab jamuns? Okay, so we can end here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.